I think I'm going to be all right.
Speaking of the West Coast, but actually they were playing on the East Coast. Doc Rivers with the classic hold me back moment in BK. Rivers was handed a second technical foul and an automatic ejection for his tirade that followed the Clippers' 127-122 double OT loss to the Nets. His first technical came after walking almost to the Nets bench to argue a foul call as the Clippers trailed by 2 late in the first OT. What's up, Doc?
Well, I thought it was awful tech. Honestly, I think you guys know why the tech was called. The official who had nothing to do with the play thought I was yelling at Lauren, and I wasn't. We were actually, she said, Doc, you're right or whatever, let's walk back. We were walking. We wasn't even arguing. So it was the damnedest tech to give at that time, and what the league's going to do, they're going to fall back on. He crossed half court. That's you see tomorrow. That's what they're going to say, and we're going to all know that that's not the real reason. I don't think an official that has nothing to do with the play should be giving someone a tech. That's my thing. That's why I got upset. He didn't know what we were talking about, and it wasn't even an argument. So, but listen, that had nothing to do with the game, and that's not why we lost the game.
The Clippers start off 10-1, and now after losing 3 in a row, they're 4-4 in their last 8. Stephen A., let's get into our feelings.
Yes.
How do we feel about what we're seeing from the Clippers right now?
Well, I don't feel very good because what I'm seeing is the same old Clippers. Certainly Doc Rivers going off. That's an entirely different thing. I think that a lot of people get on Doc Rivers as the coach. I don't get on him as the coach. I think Doc Rivers is an excellent coach. I think he's exceptional and he's a champion and he's a master motivator. His record as a GM has not been the greatest because there have been times where you needed to build that bench, which I believe he went out and did this offseason. I like the acquisition of Spates. I like a Raymond Felton and guys like that on this squad. I think that they bring an added dimension to the team because it contributes to the depth. What I'm looking for from the Clippers, however, here's the problem. What did I try to tell you, Max? You know what I'm saying? I know you got Golden State, but at the same time, we talked about the Clippers. And what did I sit up there and say to you, Max Kellerman? I said, look, man, I got to see it to believe it. I know Blake Griffin could play. Chris Paul, you want a quintessential prototypical point guard. I want Chris Paul to be the leader on my team. DeAndre Jordan, it would really be nice for you to make free throws. I'm touched. You're 21st in the league in free throw shooting, and I have no doubt that DeAndre Jordan has something to do with that. I just think that's safe to say. I think that
ship has sailed. His free throw ship has sailed.
I just think that it's safe to say. It's safe to say. Having said all of that, what I'm seeing is what I told you when everybody was getting all excited, talking about their best team in the NBA. Look at their start right now. I'm like, pump the brakes, it's early. And what happens? The loss to Detroit, a loss by 21 to the Indiana Pacers, and now you lose in double overtime to the Brooklyn Nets. Who plays on the Nets? I cover the NBA. I don't even know who plays on the Nets. That's how bad it is. When I think about it, are you kidding me? Jeremy Lin. Yeah, I forgot he was there. It's the Nets for crying out loud. I think they're on the come up. Sean May do a good job eventually, but I'm just saying, I'm just looking at them. Sean Marks, I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm just looking at them. I'm saying,
if it wasn't for the Sixers, the Nets would be
there
the story.
So having said that, maybe you're trying to motivate them for the game against the Cleveland Cavaliers, who usually smack them around from time to time or whatever the case may be. Had to cover that game for radio last year when the Clippers hosted the Cavs and the Cavs smoked them last year. But in the end, what it comes down to is that these are the Clippers. They're good, they're talented, but their talent level, their record doesn't live up to their talent level. And I'm not talking about record in terms of wins and losses. I'm talking about the type of losses that they have. And when they suffer those losses, this talent is too good for that to happen, but it keeps happening. It's the latest example right now.
I have a different take on this. First of all, let me say, before I say this, that Doc Rivers is a great coach. Mm-hmm. And that I love basketball. Really, I love the NBA more than basketball, to tell you the truth.
Okay.
I love the NBA.
Basketball is your second love of the way boxing is mine.
Right, exactly.
No.
And Doc Rivers has forgotten more basketball than I'll ever know. Let me just preface that, okay? Right. And now let me say this. What we saw yesterday, and he addressed the tech on TV, That's the issue with the Clippers right now. Because in the NBA, in a best of 7, the best team always wins. Now, I picked them as the team most likely to upset the apple cart. I don't think they will, because they're not as good as the Warriors. In a best of 7, the Warriors will beat them. And right now, they're not even as good as the Spurs, as usual. Popovich is working his magic, even with the retirement of Duncan, and they're the Spurs. But the Clippers are going to be very, very good. They're going to be a top 4 seed in the West. It's not beyond the realm of possibility that they could beat the Warriors, but they're going to need every single thing to go their way, including and maybe especially, Stephen A., what? The refs' whistles. They need those calls. And when you think about the Clippers, they are not a liked team. They're a disliked team. They're disliked by other teams and players on other teams. They're disliked around the league. And they're disliked by officials. And when Doc is at war with the officials, what he's doing is setting up a situation heading into the playoffs, because in the NBA, we all know who's going to the playoffs, especially the elite teams. No one's arguing Clippers ain't going to be in the playoffs.
Right.
And heading in there, the officials are unlikely to blow the whistle in their favor and much more likely to look the other way when that should happen and blow the whistle in the opponent's favor. And given that they're simply not as good as the Warriors and maybe not the Spurs, that is the exact opposite of what they need. So I prefaced it by saying Doc Rivers forgot more basketball than I ever know. I understand that. But Doc, I think, has to ask himself. He has to weigh this stuff where on the one hand, he's fighting for his team and being fiery and all that stuff. And on the other hand, he has to ask himself, what kind of culture do I want to create around the team, at least as it's perceived by the rest of the league and especially the officials? And is it worth, in the moment, getting heated at the officials over a tech I don't think should be called? Or do I need to pull back a little bit to give my guys the best chance to win?
Your argument, you make valid points, but I would say that last night isn't the one to make it off of. He had every right to explode the way that he did. You are an official. You have no business calling a technical foul and ejecting a coach from the game because he's talking to another official when you have no knowledge of what they're talking about. You don't get to make that assumption. You sort of usurped the authority that is bestowed upon the official that's in presence of the coach at that particular moment. Whoever that official was overstepped his bounds, and Doc Rivers was absolutely right to call him out on it. However, here's where it gets interesting. Covering the league as I do, and you always pause because you know where I'm going in terms of when I'm telling you information.
Just so people know, hold on, just so people know, and sometimes you got to read between the lines with Stephen A.
Right.
He's telling you things, so stick to a point. I'm like, wait a minute, that doesn't make it. He talked to people.
Now, in this case, I'll just put it out there. There have been complaints over the last year. Mm-hmm. The combination of Doc Rivers and Chris Paul, as elite as I believe both are, they do rake officials' nerves. They talk a lot and are perceived as complaining a lot. I don't know because I'm not always sitting actually courtside. I'm usually standing, in a tunnel or whatever the case is. I don't like sitting down during the games. So my point is that I'm not always at the scorer's table per se, but you get, not that that's the only place you can complain with an official, but Chris Paul and Doc Rivers do have a reputation of really raking the officials' nerves. The officials have said privately, and it has disseminated throughout the NBA, that those two individuals beat up on officials a lot verbally. If that is true, then that speaks to your point as to what kind of impact that can have. But I will tell you this, when I watch the Clippers, I don't see them devoid of a championship because of officiating.
Right.
I see them devoid of it because of free throw shooting on the part of DeAndre Jordan, an offense where you got a shooting guard and J.J. Redick that can shoot 45% from three-point range the way that he is right now, but defensive lapses at the wrong time, mistakes at the wrong time on the offensive end of the floor, and dudes like Blake Griffin, who's an absolute star, but when you need him to step up to that elevated level where it ain't about the numbers, it's about the moment, there are times where we find ourselves saying, yo, Blake, where you at?
But I agree with all that. And really, even with all that, it's really just the existence of the Warriors in their conference that really eliminates them from moving on. But when you look at what Doc has here, they have continuity. They've played together for a bunch of years. They have two legit superstars. They have another all-star. They have a deeper bench than they've had in recent years. They have a great coach. They have a major market. They have a team-friendly owner. They have every single thing going for them. Still probably not good enough to get past the Warriors, but that's why I'm saying Doc has to ask himself, Am I giving us the best possible chance to win? Or is he and Chris Paul, are they letting their competitiveness get the better of them and not picking and choosing?
Or are they whining too much?
I'm not bringing Chris Paul in as part of this equation because I've seen Chris Paul judiciously go about the business of working the ref.
Right,
ref one minute, you know, or the other minute he's quiet and he's performing. Not to mention the fact that he shows up in big moments. What I would ask you to consider is this. What's a bigger issue here? To me, it sounds like your biggest issue is Doc needing to ask himself that question you just said he should ask. To me, the biggest issue is, yo, Blake, we know you a star. What's up? Now, the last year he was hurt, so please, I'm not holding him accountable for that. But Blake Griffin is, talent-wise, is a superstar.
He's playing out of his mind this year.
And he's playing out of his mind this year.
He sat coach's decision last year.
But you got to remember, even when he's playing out of his mind, there's those big moments. I'm not talking about big games, because he'll never disappear for a whole game. But in big moments in those games, you'd have found yourself on occasion looking for Blake Griffin.
Yes.
And that can't happen. He's got to be that dude because Chris Paul's a 6'1" guard. He ain't Steph Curry going to pull up from 40. Chris Paul is an orchestrator. He runs a show. He's the captain of a ship. It's Blake Griffin's job to elevate himself to that next level.
If Blake had the thing you're talking about, he wouldn't just be a top 5 or 6 player. He'd be even better than that.
Yes.
He'd be in the non-LeBron conversation
I need him to be
for
that
best
way.
player in the league. So I'm not saying that wouldn't be even better than what they have. What I'm saying is we're reacting to Doc right now and what Doc said on that sound based on the tech and the ejection last night. And to me, the issue there is what I said. Doc, this is your best shot. Do you want to give yourself the best shot, or do you want to stack the deck against you when it's already stacked against you?
That's a fair question. That's a fair question.
All right, we'll leave it there. You guys know what time it is. Trying to keep up with the Joneses. Stephen Jones, the Cowboys CEO and Director of Player Personnel, also Jerry's son, did a video Q&A with Cowboys fans and was asked to name the most difficult Cowboys decision he's had to make.
No question for me, it's been our decision here to play the hot hand and keep going with Dak and have Tony, who has handled this with such class and such professionalism in terms of what's in the best interest of our football team at this moment. But certainly been very difficult for everybody because of all the great things Tony's done for our franchise.
Oh, Max, what does this say about the Joneses?
I think it says really good things, to tell you the truth. Yes, I do. Look, the NFL is ruthless in terms of their efficiency, right? And that's ideally how business works. That business should be very efficient, and they run the team as a business and all that. But there is a redeeming quality about people who not only value loyalty, but reciprocate it. Who have, and this happens even with bad people who play for the Cowboys. You see Jerry Jones come out and defend them and like, dude, you can't defend that guy. Do you know what that guy just did? I mean, how many times are we up here talking about that? And it's because Jerry Jones, in his personal experience, and Marcellus Wiley, my former broadcast partner, happy birthday, by the way.
Happy birthday, Marcellus.
Yeah. So, but Marcellus Wiley used to talk about this. He played 1 year for Jerry Jones. Didn't play well. I mean, for Bill Parcells on the Cowboys, and has nothing but good things to say about Jerry Jones. The people who play for him like them because he has their back no matter what. He's a loyal guy, and you see it in Stephen Jones too. Now, it's not toward every player all the time. In this case, it's the quarterback, the longtime quarterback. That bodes well for Dak Prescott. That would make me, if I were a player, want to play for the Cowboys, that they not only demand loyalty, but reciprocate it, even when it's unpopular. And I think that's why, and in this case, they handled the whole thing right the whole time. Well, it's Romo, it's Romo, it's Romo. Okay, maybe it's Dak. Okay, now it's Dak. Hey, Tony, can you hold a press conference just telling everyone so we can move on? And what's Romo supposed to say at that point? No to the people who have been that loyal to him? I'm sure Romo, though it was difficult, probably said, in this imagined conversation in my own mind, probably said, I got to do what I got to do for these people. They do it for me. And it is a redeeming quality of the Cowboys and of Jerry and Stephen Jones.